This is one of the rarest birds in the world, and certainly the most valuable. None of its kind now remain in the wild. The last few were stolen for wealthy collectors. The reason? Because this is a Spix macaw, the rarest species of the most popular and most collected group of birds in the world, parrots. It's not only rare or expensive parrots that are popular with people. We like them for a variety of reasons, and that attention has a variety of results for the parrots too. For these wild rainbow lorikeets in Australia, the result is simply food, if rather a lot of it. Each year, thousands of people flock to this particular spot in Queensland to feed these exceptionally tame lorikeets. The lure for the birds, sugar and honey. But this is only a casual encounter between man and bird. These parrots have shared man's world for 150 years. First exported from Australia to Europe in 1840, today they're the most popular cage bird in the world. Budgerigars. Budgers are popular as companions, but it's perhaps the bright and varied colours of parrots that first attracts our eye. Parrots are bright and gaudy because of where they live. Many inhabit tropical forests. Conspicuous colours help individuals recognise each other in the dense vegetation and dapple sunlight, where even vivid colours are muted. To feed in these forests, they've evolved a beak that can crack the toughest nuts. With vice-like jaws, a helpful tongue, and claws that employ a uniquely powerful grip, a large parrot can be impressively destructive, as anyone who's kept one as a pet knows only too well. By using their beak as a third hand, and with an agility derived from their life in the trees, they're good at other tricks too. They seem able to copy in a remarkable way our own acrobatic abilities.
Pretty good. How about the yellow star?
Their tricks are not just acrobatic. They appear intelligent, too.
Very good. It looks like Marty got it that time. I tell you what, Marty did so well that time. I'm going to try and see if I can fool him this time. Okay, Marty, forget about what I said. You know, I was wrong. The blue circle goes right here. The yellow star goes here. Now you do the rest. I've got him now. He says, oh, no, hurry, I can figure this one out. It looks like he's got it. Marty on the phone, sir. Thank you, Marty.
In its rainforest home, a macaw has to identify all kinds of fruits and seeds of differing colours and shapes. In South America, macaws feed on some fruits that are surprisingly poisonous, and that may be the reason why hundreds of them seek out this particular spot. They're after a certain kind of rare mineral clay to help their digestion. It probably works by lining their gut and neutralising the toxic chemicals in their diet, just as we humans take kaolin clay to calm an upset stomach. Other parrots, like this rosella from Australia, hunt insects to supplement their diet. Even bugs and beetles hiding under bark aren't safe from this persistent search. Parrots are a varied group of birds. These keers inhabit the mountains of New Zealand, and in a hostile home like this, they can't afford to be too fussy about their diet. They snuffle around for roots and leaves, berries and flowers, insects and grubs, and if they find the carcass of a sheep or deer, they'll certainly feast on the flesh. Lorikeets from Australia, on the other hand, specialise on just a single food. Their particular taste? Flowers. Their long, brush-like tongue probes even the trickiest corners to soak up nectar and pollen. They are by far the most colourful of all parrots, and like jewels, or indeed any beautiful objects, there are human collectors that find them irresistible. Just like other parrots, individual lories demand a great deal of attention, whether the preening is from a lifelong mate or the next best thing.
Give you a preen. There.
Trevor Buckle has one of the largest collections of lorikeets in Britain, over 120 birds, and he's devoted to all of them.
There we are. Whoa. You like that?
In 30 years, he's rarely taken a holiday. He prefers instead the lories, the pride, joy, and love of his life.
Yes.
Their long tongues and unusual feeding habits set lorikeets apart from all other parrots, and also mean they're amongst the most difficult to keep and breed. Their artificial nectar, a warm solution including glucose, multivitamins and honey. This needs to be prepared and fed to them at least 3 times a day, a heavy responsibility for anyone keeping them. It's not only beauty that attracts people to parrots.
Basil, come on then.
Talking parrots have captivated people for literally thousands of years.
Hello, Basil.
Hello.
Come on then.
This is British champion talker Basil, with his owner, Chris Martin. In the wild, parrots use an enormous variety of calls which they learn as youngsters from other parrots. But when there are no other parrots around, they'll learn from anyone who happens to be about.
Hello, Basil.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello then, Basil. Hello, Basil. Hello, Basil. Was you pretty boy then? Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello.
Some people take their parrot collecting a little more seriously. This armed guard protects an estate in Florida that contains one of the world's largest private collections of parrots. In these buildings are housed several $1 million worth of birds. Their owner, here inspecting some of his recently bred chicks, is retired businessman and parrot enthusiast Richard Schubot.
About 6 years ago, I went out and bought a pet in the cockatoo family, and then from there I expanded and got a macaw, and then we got another cockatoo, and another couple cockatoos. And all of a sudden I realized that by the turn of the century, man will have destroyed the living area of all these birds, and there will be none to be had. And I felt that someone who can devote their time to breeding these birds and not having to sell them until you build up a large breeding colony should take over and do his own little part, and I decided that I would do the same. It's hard to believe in just 6 short years that I accumulated from one bird to 1,400, growing strong every day. And the only regrets that I may have is that I can't love all 1,400 of them every day.
If Richard can't lavish his personal love on them all, he can certainly give them the benefit of his considerable financial wealth. They have the best in hygiene and food that money can buy. People have kept parrots since Roman times, and that hasn't often been to the benefit of parrots. But if their habitat disappears, might this, as Richard Schubot believes, be their only future? Like many collectors, it was an emotional relationship with parrots that got Richard Schubot started, and even today, it's an intimate friendship that gives him the greatest pleasure.
This little charming, beautiful thing is my favorite of all favorites. She's been with me almost 6 years, and I got her quite accidentally. A former owner had abused her. She broke her leg and they didn't set it. She flew into a window and they didn't check her for neurological problems. And she came to me free because I would take care of it and love it. And she's just a little doll. And we have a lot of fun together. This is actually the first time she's ever been out of the house, but we have a little love affair going. And as you can see, I trust her implicitly, or that pain would be unbelievable if she took a hold of that tongue of mine. She does have a very bad temper, and when I get a phone call at night, she will either bite my fingers off or eat the phone cord because it's her time and no one interferes with her time. Now, I shift back and forth between her and he. Her is really a he, but all birds to me are she's.
In the wild also, parrots give a good deal of affection and attention to their mates. Most are monogamous and faithful for life. For larger parrots, like cockatoos, that can be 30, 50, even 80 years. Large parrots are relatively slow breeders, and none more so than the macaws. It's been estimated that for every 100 pairs in a particular patch of rainforest, only about 20 young are fledged each year. One reason is that pairs don't breed every year. Another is that although 2 or 3 chicks may be hatched, often only one will survive. The youngsters are fed by both parents for over 3 months before they're ready to fly. All this effort is one reason why macaws are not easily bred in captivity. But Harry Sisson has been highly successful, if a little unorthodox. He's a Yorkshire farmer who's given up his cows and crops to spend all his time and money breeding parrots. His results, even with the most difficult macaws, have proved the best in Britain. To double the number of birds he can breed, he takes the first clutch of eggs away from the parents to encourage them to lay another, and places their eggs in the nest box of a broody pigeon. Pigeons don't seem to mind whether they sit on their own eggs or those of a macaw. Eventually, Harry will remove the eggs for hatching and then hand-rear the babies. When they're a few months old, youngsters are turned out into large aviaries where they can fly around and eventually select their own mate. In this way, he's turned his one-time hobby into a thriving business, as well as breeding rare and endangered macaws to increase their numbers in captivity.
The nice thing about breeding macaws, and we've bred all of these that you can see here, is that they're so tame. In fact, they're on the cameraman. You have a job keeping them off you. The hyacinth on my back thinks I come in here just for one reason, and that is to be dismantled. He takes me as their own property. The proper monster is this one. Feel my jacket gradually getting taken to pieces. These are the blue-throated macaw, which are the pride and joy really in here. These three here were the first three ever bred in Europe, and we're very proud of that fact. They're extremely nice, lovely temperament. This one's having a good go at the back of my coat. I don't know what he's exactly getting at, but let's see. Yeah, you don't really want that. You just want my hat, don't you? Eh? Oh, you are a shocker.
Not everyone who owns and wants to breed parrots is prepared to put in the same effort and devotion as Harry. As a result, parrot rearing has become a profitable business. A portable incubator like this can hold more than a dozen parrot eggs, each potentially worth hundreds of pounds. Eggs from all sorts of parrots, both common and exotic, are flown in from all around Britain to a parrot rearing company in Cambridgeshire, Data Bird Worldwide. On arrival, they're immediately transferred to a more sophisticated incubator, where they'll remain for the next 2 weeks or so. It precisely recreates the conditions inside the nest, keeping the temperature constant to within 1/10 of a degree, and even mimicking parental behavior by turning the eggs once every hour. This automated environment nurtures the developing eggs until they're almost ready to hatch. These are valuable commodities, and nothing is left to chance. Data Bird's fees can be several £100s per egg, but then a macaw, once hatched, will be worth over £1,000, and a palm cockatoo, several thousand. It's big business, and an egg's progress is monitored in detail every 2 days. After weighing, it's examined with a bright light to reveal the developing chick inside. Nearly 1,000 eggs pass through this system every year. Each is monitored individually to ensure it finally and safely reaches the big day. It hatches out in the sterile environment of an incubator. Hygiene is strict, for baby parrots are susceptible to many diseases. Its struggle over, life becomes a bit easier from now on, with nutritious food on demand several times a day. These are month-old African greys. They'll need frequent feeds for another 4 or 5 weeks. That's a lot of attention and a lot of baby food. Most are destined to be pets, but not all pet parrots have such a gentle journey to the pet store. These are African greys in Senegal. They've been trapped in the wild and are waiting for export to Europe. All around the world, parrots are cruelly trapped for the pet trade. One of the commonest methods is to prepare one bird as a decoy. Its cries of distress will lure other parrots to be caught. This is only the start of the long and tragic route that many parrots take to our pet shops. Birds are brought in their thousands to middlemen in capital cities. Here in Dakar, birds of all kinds, not only parrots, are held for export. This particular company may house 200,000 at a time. Across the world, the trade in wild-caught parrots is worth millions of pounds. Over 20,000 are legally imported each year into Britain alone. Yet the greatest tragedy of all is that most birds caught will never survive to reach their destination. The means of transport may be from the jet age, but their conditions of carriage are often barbaric. The Environmental Investigation Agency has been working to show just how great the problem is for all birds caught up in this trade, not just parrots.
We've discovered that the just over 1 million birds exported official figure from Senegal is probably about 10 times too low. In fact, about 10 million birds are exported, and the mortality rate, the death rate of these birds is at least half of them die before they leave the country. So that means 20 million birds are being caught here in Senegal. And then more die in the air transportation, more die when they arrive at the next country where they're going to. And in fact, about 80% die before the birds actually end up in somebody's cage.
In a pet shop, it may be impossible to distinguish one of these birds that have survived this treatment from a parrot bred in captivity. Buying one is a direct encouragement to this cruelty. But there's an even greater threat to parrots. Their tropical forest homes are being wiped out. Nowhere has this had a greater effect on parrot populations than here in the Caribbean. On small islands, there's only so much forest to fell. The situation here is especially severe because many of the Caribbean islands have their own unique species of parrot. Most are perched on the edge of extinction. The St. Lucia Amazon is the rarest of them all. Its population fell to only 100 birds, and only last-minute protection has pulled it back from the brink. Because of their rarity, many Caribbean parrots are now worth thousands of pounds each. That brings great temptation to capture them illegally for sale to wealthy collectors. From the Caribbean to Australia, South America to Africa, dozens of species of parrots stare extinction in the face. For some, even survival in captivity is not secure. Parrots are notoriously fussy about their partners, and that's tough if there are just too few to choose from. The Spix macaw has almost no choice at all. Less than 30 remain, scattered throughout several collections. Unless their owners cooperate soon, there'll soon be none to breed. People have kept parrots for thousands of years, and they've given us great pleasure. But surely a sight such as this is ultimately more rewarding. Some parrots are still doing well in the wild. These are corellas in Australia. But elsewhere, forests are being cleared and parrots cruelly trapped for our pleasure. Remember that when next you see a parrot in a pet store.